With things gearing up for the provincial election in the new year, it seemed a fine time to tell you about TVO's new Politics podcast. So let's find out more about it from its host, TVO.org's digital media producer. There's John Michael McGrath. So nice to have you here.
Thanks, Steve.
It's called The Agenda on Politics. What is it?
It's a podcast we've put together to help explain issues and policies and parties before the upcoming provincial election on June 7th. We are going every 2 weeks, and we're trying to give people the fullest possible picture as they make their decisions on who to vote for.
How long have you been covering Queen's Park?
I have been at Queen's Park various guises since 2013.
And we should point out you are, I'm allowed to say this, right? You're second generation.
I am. My father was also a Queen's Park reporter.
John McGrath, one of the great ones. The election is not for another, where are we, 6 months away?
Six and a bit, yeah.
Actually, 6 months yesterday. June 7th is the date. So what kind of issues are you going to cover over the next 6 months?
We're hoping to get to as many as we can. We've already spoken with some people about transit and land use around the GTHA. We've spoken with our reporter in southwestern Ontario about how high-speed rail is unfolding there. And we've spoken with John Thompson in the northwest about how the creation of 2 new provincial ridings in the far north is playing out in northern Ontario.
So outside the GTA, there's often a fear that you guys only cover stuff that goes on in the GTA. You're going to cover the province.
We are trying to reach every corner we can.
Great. Why a podcast, John Michael?
Obviously, we do the nightly show here at The Agenda. We hope to reach other people, and it's obviously some of the same people, with the podcast as just something that they can take with them on the go, and we can explore some different issues that we don't always have time for on the TV show.
Lovely. You and I did an episode.
We did, yes.
It was a joy, I have to tell you.
I'm
It was
glad.
a lot of fun. Let's share a little sample with the good folks at home.
Absolutely.
Roll it, please, Sheldon.
This is going to be how many elections you've covered?
Oh, my gosh.
How many provincial elections? Let's say that.
I've covered every election since '85. So is that, I don't know, what is that, 9?
9 or 10, something
Whatever,
like that.
yeah.
Do you get sick of it?
Actually not, which is obviously a genetic defect on my part. There we go. Obviously an audio podcast, not a video podcast. Any sense of what other guests you've got coming up or who you'd like to have on?
Well, we're aiming to stay away from elected officials or people running to be elected officials. We want to talk to reporters and policy thinkers and anybody who has input on where they think the province is going. We've already spoken with David Reevely of the Ottawa Citizen. He'll be on an upcoming episode. And yeah, we're looking to cast our net widely.
It's interesting that we actually have very few politicians on this program as well.
Yes.
And I think I'm not sure what your view is on this, but we don't necessarily like to provide a forum for politicians to pontificate as opposed to get analysts to analyze. Is that your thinking as well?
Yeah, I think if somebody wants to make a speech, they have the legislature and question period and all of that. We want to get a bit behind what's in the speeches.
Gotcha. This you mentioned every 2 weeks. So does it doesn't really air in the sense of a TV show airing, but how does it come down?
Listeners can find us on Google Play and iTunes. We already have 2 episodes up that came up last week. The next episode will come up next week. We are going every 2 weeks for now. As we get closer to the election, we expect to accelerate that to a weekly podcast.
Awesome. Well, this is your baby, so good luck with it.
Thanks so much, Steve.
That's John Michael McGrath, who is, do we call you the host?
Yes, I am the host.
You are the host of the Agenda on Politics podcast. Thanks, John Michael.
Thank you.
The Agenda with Steve Paikin is brought to you by the Chartered Professional Accountants of Ontario, helping businesses stay on the right side of change with strategic thinking, insightful decisions, and business leadership. Are you on the right side of change? Ask an Ontario CPA.